It's definitely never going to be a, hey, I figured it out once, I've figured it out for eternity. It doesn't work that way. You've got to constantly be changing and getting better.
Welcome to Strength in Numbers, where we share real data from our 400 plus clients, industry trends, practical strategies you can use to grow your revenue, protect profits, create value in your pest and lawn company. I'm Joe Brown, Director of Business Development here at PCO Bookkeepers and M&A Specialist. I'm here with PCOB's managing member, Brian Post, CPA. So, Brian, today we're going to talk about the PCOB Pinnacle Performance Awards. So I know that program, we founded in 2022 to recognize our clients who reached important annual revenue milestones in their companies, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, and 10 million. So we shipped out over 53 awards this year across the country for our clients who hit these milestones for the first time. So really wanted to kind of talk about that, what those companies are doing, what it looks like at different revenue thresholds to be successful, what might look different between like hitting the 1 million threshold versus the 5, etc. So I know you see a ton of different clients that we have at all different revenue ranges. So I was thinking probably nobody better than Brian Post, the Brian Post, to answer this. So
You flatter me.
that's just for my year-end review. I want to say good things. Let's start with some background on why these revenue ranges, right? Like 1, 3, 5, 10. Like, why did we decide to recognize these revenue thresholds and not other ones?
Yeah, so I think the first one being $1 million, that is always a goal of, I think, most entrepreneurs. You know, you kind of hit that first $1 million mark in a 12-month period. It's a great accomplishment. You know, you're doing a lot of things right, and we'll kind of go into that. $3 million in this industry, you know, that's a pretty good sized company. I would say probably about the average of the client that we work with. When you get to the $5 million and the $10 million ranges, as most of people know in this industry, I mean, there's not too many of them. I mean, you could even take a look at the lists that come out, and you know, where the top 100 is, you know, it starts at like 9 million. So a $10 million company in this industry is quite an achievement. And so that's kind of how we chose between the 1, 3, 5, and 10 million. Is just, they're just really big milestones in the pest control industry.
Got it. So really those are like the main thresholds, you would say. Any plans to do like a 20 million in the future?
Probably not any plans to do a 20 million, but yeah, those thresholds are definitely consistent with inflection points in your business where, you know, certain things have to happen to be able to get to that next level.
That's actually a good segue because I really wanted to know next. I kind of wanted to talk about each individual one, really. So, like, if you're a 750K revenue company today, like, what does it take to get to that 1 million mark to be successful at that 1 million? Not necessarily just hit the 1 million and then next year maybe you decline and you're not there again, like to consistently get to that 1 million mark.
Sure. Yeah, no, there's plenty of things that you need to be doing to be able to get to that mark. You know, we do work with a ton of clients that are close to or broken through that $1 million threshold. Really, I think to summarize before we get into the details is you're setting a solid foundation for your company at this point to get to this level. You're providing a really high quality service. You're a customer service specialist, right? You're a customer service company that does pest control. You know, being able to take care of the customer, that's going to be first and foremost the number one way to continue to grow, to build a good reputation, and to be able to achieve that $1 million mark and to continue to move on from it. I would say right now, with a lot of the clients that we're working with in this threshold or about to hit it, they're also adopting the newest technology. That's going to be key to success here, whether it's AI or, you know, all these other new platforms that are coming out to make your life easier. it is definitely adopting technology is going to be one of the main reasons why people can get ahead in business. At this stage, at the $1 million stage, you're really building momentum. And I think momentum, we'll probably talk about it in all the other thresholds of revenue, of why and how it's so important to be able to continue to build off momentum and continue moving on. So again, really in that $1 million mark, you're just setting that overall solid foundation, taking care of the customer. That's really the number one thing that we see.
The technology piece, though, will also help ultimately because you're creating that foundation, but customer service is first, essentially, when it comes to getting to that 1 million mark.
Without a doubt. I mean, you're also starting to really create a repeatable service, right? You know, you don't want to get to the point where you're saying yes to everything. You're a pest control company, but someone needs their gutters cleaned, right? Like so many entrepreneurs have done that. It's, I think, a rite of passage almost. But at this point, once you get to that $1 million mark, you know what you're doing. You've got your services that are well defined. You've got a customer kind of defined that you're looking to go after. But yeah, that's kind of what I would see with the $1 million threshold.
I think with that 1 million threshold too, though, like I see a lot of people like they just kind of like brute force will themselves to get there by saying yes to everything and anything. Like that really large one-time job, like I have a goal of $1 million. I'm gonna take that job, right? Like any things that you want to say on that, like because I see it a lot where it's just we want to get to this revenue range, especially at that 1 million mark. Just kind of, all right, yeah, I'll take that really large bird job because I want to get there. Like any watch outs or anything when it comes to that.
I mean, I think if it's pest related, it's fine. I don't want you to lose your identity though. You still want to focus on building recurring revenue. That's essential in growing a business and in this industry and being able to keep not having to resell it every year.
That repeatability ultimately.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's one thing to reach the 1 million, right? But then how are you going to get to the three? Which that is my next question, right? That 1 to 3 million gap. I know we talk about a lot, like you're either building the asset or you're building income. Which one do you
Mhm.
want to do, right? You kind of need to decide as an owner, right? Like I want to invest in the asset in the business, grow this, and that 1 to 3 range is a big step, I would say. But how do you get to that 3 million once you do get to the one? What do you typically see?
Yeah, so again, we work with a lot of clients that are in this range here. I would say that first and foremost, you're really starting to build out your processes and your SOPs, so in the $1 million range, we knew what we were going to sell and how we were going to sell it. But now as we continue to scale and add team members, we need to be able to make sure that everyone is following the same process. The entire business is now replicatable, whether it's an HR function, hiring, your finance function, your HR function, anything like that has now become big enough to the point where you're going to have multiple people following the same thing. So there needs to be a standard operating procedure in place.
Got it. And if they don't have that in place, what do you typically see? Like so if I just willed my way to get to 1 million, it's been working,
Mhm.
right? Like why can't I will myself to the 3 million? Just invest in marketing, keep going. Like why not?
Because there's a burnout factor. You're gonna not be able to maintain that and be able to continue to go back to that foundation of providing a really high quality service and being able to be a really good customer service specialist. If you're having to focus too much on getting the work done, well, something's going to give, right? You're going to be juggling too many things and something's bound to fall.
And I know we talked about the one and now we're on the three, but at what point Like if an owner's still running routes in the field, right? Still very heavily involved. At what point does the owner not running routes anymore, like trying to ultimately work on that kind of stuff? What do you typically see there?
I think that's a great question, Joe. I
And
mean,
like, is it really important? Like once you hit this, you need to get out right away, or is that not like a thing?
no, you're not going to be able to just completely one day decide to not go out in the field. But we look at a lot of activity ratios here, and within that $1 to $3 million mark is adding your first manager, right? So the other piece to how do you successfully get to $3 million and continue to grow is delegation. You're starting to build out your management team. That's going to be essential for you to maintain 3 million and obviously ultimately get to the $5 and $10 million marks.
So it's somewhere in there. So when you're building out those SOPs and you're going from that 1 to 3, that's when you need to start thinking about ultimately where's your time most valuable? Is it in the field running around, or is it
Exactly.
working on the business as a whole, right?
And to be able to start to monitor that a little bit, I think in this range, one of the things that we see a lot of our really successful $3 million companies doing is really starting to build out dashboards and creating accountability across their team members, as opposed to just kind of using gut feelings or anything like that. They're trying to really leverage data to make. They're in the beginning stages of really relying on that data to make business decisions.
And you have more of that data if you started when you were under 1 million investing in that technology. So
Correct.
now the foundation piece you were talking about makes a little more sense to me. But
Yeah.
the 5 million range, right? So 3 to 5 million, what are the successful ones that reach the 5 million? What are they doing? How does the business that is successful from what you've seen go from that 3 to 5 million mark?
So it's doing a lot of the same in the $3 million mark. It's a little bit more, I guess, seasoned at this point and fine tuned. What I see a lot of my 5 million plus companies working on though is just really, I think number one is creating opportunity. You can't continue to grow and keep good people if you aren't creating those opportunities. So these business owners are doing that in spades, and they're also helping their team members further their career, whether it's through different opportunities in licensing or going back and getting taught a management course, or maybe going back to school or something like that. That's what they're doing to really help continue to build their team out. The business owner themselves, they're at this point, they're leading. They're definitely not in the field at this point in time. They are focused on uh, making sure that foundation continues to stay solid. They're reviewing their financial, uh, their reporting. So I think one of the big key aspects here is having a sophisticated financial reporting structure. And then in this industry, as everyone knows, at this point in time, they've created a hiring mechanism to be able to consistently help with the issues of of churn in this industry.
When you say that, you're talking about internal hirings type of thing?
Yeah, just making sure that you constantly have a bench and continuing to if someone leaves, you've got a replacement for them quickly. But on top of that, it's not just about being able to hire people, it's being able to get them the right training in a good amount of time. You can't just pick someone up off the street and have them do it your way without, again, building out a training process. So we go back to that $3 million mark. We have a training SOP. This is how, XYZ company does it. We don't want others to not be doing it how your other technicians are, or answering phones how your CSRs are doing it in a different manner.
Right. So it's like this is the way that we do it ultimately,
Hmm.
and not one-off situations all the time to where, well, this person has this experience, so they're fine. It's more,
Exactly.
no, you have to go through the training process because this is how we do it.
Precisely.
Last but not least, that 10 million mark. I know it's a lot of goals. That's a goal for a lot of businesses. Even if they just hit that 1 million mark, they want a 10x.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of 10x programs out there. So how do you 10x?
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, there's really not too many 10+ million dollar companies in our industry. Are they out there? Absolutely. What makes them successful is they're continuing to figure out everything that we mentioned, but they're just replicating it. They've kind of created a template as to where they can do all these sort of things with ease because they've done it before already, and they have a framework. And so I guess really, if I have to, really pinpoint it, it's they're able to manage their culture and everything to the point where everyone's bought in that they're hiring. Their management staff is there. Everyone's held accountable. No one's pointing fingers. So it's like they've just been able to create such a good culture and to be able to maintain people that that's how you continually drive towards that 10 plus or up goal.
It sounds like from like an operational standpoint, the higher up you go, yes, to me it sounds a little more boring because it's doing the same thing ultimately, just getting better at the process of that. Like that's kind of the general theme is like the beginning, you're setting that foundation, that structure, getting to that 3 million mark, you're working on those SOPs, things that will last throughout the scale of the business. And then it's a lot of the same thing and making sure that you have the right team members in place, a good bench, and then ultimately that repeatability. So even in the beginning, right, maybe taking that really large one-time job to get to that threshold, you still want that recurring revenue because it's repeatable.
Yeah.
And the more repeatable things that you have in place, the better you can scale the business and make it sustainable.
And one thing to keep in mind is none of this is set and forget it, right? I mean, you're constantly tweaking, you're constantly adapting this new technology to make your lives easier.
Yeah.
It's staying on top of this stuff as well. It's definitely never going to be hey, I figured it out once, I've figured it out for eternity. It doesn't work that way. You've got to constantly be changing and getting better.
Do you feel like the people that are early adopters of technology tend to have a leg up, or do you feel like if you're too early adopter, like, because some owners are like, let me let other people do it first, there, and then there's those early adopters as new technology comes out, like we're going to go for it. Like, is there a threshold to where it would have a larger impact if something goes wrong with that technology early compared to later, or not necessarily, or the opposite, because you might change too much and you're too big to make that change,
I think what you brought up is a good point, is as you get bigger, it's harder to make changes. You lose that nimbleness. And, when you make a change at a $10 million company, it's going to be significantly more difficult to push that down to all your branches and everything else. I think in the beginning, being an early adopter is beneficial. But I think as you grow, being a little bit more strategic in how you do things is going to be the best solution. So it might be the shiny penny for this week because it's the new AI thing or whatever it might be. Just do your due diligence, test it out before you just go all in on it. That would be my recommendation.
With leadership, right? Like, at what range do you feel like that middle management plays the most crucial role,
I think at the $5 million mark is where that starts to become the most crucial thing, to be able to get to that $10 million mark. I think there's a lot of business owners out there that are really good that can get them to between that $3 and $5 million mark. But I think after that, you need to be able to delegate and put trust in building out, a right hand man or woman on your team to continue to take you to the next level.
Getting to that 3 million, you typically see that first manager.
Yeah, right around 2 million.
is that first manager, do they typically stay there, or do you need to stay nimble to make sure that that is the right person for the role? Because if you're hiring middle management for the first time, right, you might think that this person will be great for it. Do people hang on to that person in that role for a little too long, or because it feels like a larger switch? Like anything kind of on that topic?
Most of our clients that I work with that are adding that first manager is no longer there. Just because it was their first attempt at hiring someone to be, that
The guy.
that leader that next person up. I think most of the time they don't work out because it's just a trial and tribulation for the owner to go through that first hiring process. Then they work it out, they figure out truly what they're looking for, they get more sophisticated, and then that person ends up either not working or maybe moving to like a different, like a more supervisory role as opposed to like a general manager.
Is there a threshold to where like does more revenue mean more money? Or like where is there a hiccup, if any? If I'm the owner, right? Like financials are great and all, but at the end of the day, I want to make more money. So the assumption is you grow, you make more money, which usually that's the case. Hopefully that's the case, right? But is there a little bit of a struggle period anywhere when it comes to the financials?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think you could make just as much money in a $3 million company if you're doing it right than you can in a $5 or $10 million company if you're not doing it right. But I would tell you, you asked on the back half of that question, is there like a struggle? And I earlier mentioned that a lot of these 1, 3, 5, and $10 million marks that we came up with are inflection points. What I've noticed a lot of is our business owners that reach these milestones, they might take a half a step back when they hit these goals because they're putting in more infrastructure, they're building out a team. All those things cost money, right? But if you execute on it, you're going to now take 2 or 3 steps forward as opposed to just you'll more than overcome that half a step back
Yeah.
from a making money perspective.
Which KPIs for the thresholds do you feel like are most important to watch? Maybe they're different at each threshold, right? But what KPIs, if you had a short list of ones, like say you own a pest control business, right? Which ones are you watching at what stage?
At the first stage, I'm probably looking at a lot of financial metrics, right? My revenue growth, that's going to be key. I mean, I think if you're really small and you're not growing with large percentages, that would be a telltale sign of I probably need to do something differently. But at like a $3 million phase, some of the KPIs that I'm looking at, your revenue per technician, all the same financial KPIs you would in the $1 million section. In the $5 million, I'm probably looking at like employee churn and things like that to be able to determine, do I have issues with people staying at my business? Is there underlying problems that I should be looking at? And then again, ultimately looking at my financial KPIs. But I think as we get bigger and bigger, we were looking at more operational KPIs to be able to determine if, all these routes that we're creating are leading to profitable financials, right? So you want to run your business on these KPIs as you get bigger. That will ultimately lead then to solid financials, all right? If you're not reviewing those regularly, you should be.
Yeah, so you need to like get an understanding of the financials and the financial base first before anything else because you can't really look at the operational side or how it's impacting the business down the line if you're not understanding the financial side first. Is that ultimately?
Yeah, you got to know how the levers control it.
Brian, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining Strength in Numbers. Appreciate the time. And if you guys have any questions about any of these thresholds, milestones, feel free, reach out to myself or Brian Post. Brian's email, brian.post@pcobookkeepers.com. You can also text his personal cell phone, which is...
Hush, 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 hush.
No, thanks, Brian. Have a great day, and appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, and I appreciate you having me on here, and we look forward to, giving out more of these awards to our clients in the future.